listening. Have a great day. Hello. Thank you for listening. This is the near-death experience of Anouk, and this experience occurred in 1999. Open quote. It was 20 years ago, but I remember crying as I was taken to the operating room for an abortion. I was too young to keep this child, but I would have liked to keep it. It utterly saddened and upset me knowing that I couldn't take care of it properly. I had been dealing with a deep depression for a few months. Until then, my life had been a mixture of very difficult events and at the same time beautiful things. I was absorbing the blow. Spirituality had always been important to me. I searched from a very young age to learn and understand about spirituality. I was interested in past lives and altered states of consciousness. At that time and under these circumstances, I had completely lost my faith. I felt fragile and miserable. It was in this context and surrounded by a medical team that I felt was cold and judgmental that I was injected with the anesthetic. The idea of letting go for a few minutes was a relief, and I fell asleep. When I regained consciousness, it was the same way we wake up in the morning, but I woke up in a dark and infinite space. I was floating there as in weightlessness. It was dark, empty, and endless. I was alone. At that moment, I was very scared. I remember wondering how I could have gotten into this mess and also knew that I had to find a way out of it. Almost instantly, as I was formulating this last thought, I saw a small light a long way away. The light was rapidly approaching me through this dark and infinite space. I understood that this light was two beings coming for me. They were two beautiful beings made of light. I couldn't see their faces. There was only light. They seemed almost surprised to find me there, and I felt like I shouldn't have been there. I felt the beings to be so beautiful and powerful compared to them. I felt small, weak, lame, and pathetic. I would have given anything to be like them. I felt so far removed from them in every way, like a mouse next to an elephant. The beings started talking to me telepathically. They heard everything I was thinking. They even got ahead of my questions as communication was instantaneous, smooth, and pleasant. It was more like they were showing me things rather than they were talking to me. I seem to remember that they showed me that I was like them. It was that the earthly life had shrunken me. I also think I remember that it was not just about me, but that we were all like them initially. We made ourselves very small to experience our terrestrial world. I think I knew them. One spoke more than the other, and they had different energies. Each being took one of my hands, and we started to fly through the huge dark space. As we moved around quietly, they started showing me the difficult experiences in my life. They showed me what they saw from their perspective. From my point of view, things seemed serious and dramatic, but to them, it didn't really matter. I remember that this conversation surprised me a lot. They then explained to me why I went through all this, but now I forgot. I believe they then showed me the answers to all the questions I had about life. I felt like I had access to all the knowledge in the world. As we communicated, I felt myself becoming like them. I was growing and turning into light. I was more and more happy and enthusiastic, as if I had never been on Earth. I also felt their incredible love. I think they then showed me the future and gave me a choice, stay or go. Certainly, it was with immense joy that I chose to return. I remember there was something glorious about being on Earth. I wasn't doing it just for myself, but for everyone. That idea instantly and happily brought me back to Earth. I opened my eyes in the recovery room. Two people from the medical team were leaning over me and looked worried. I looked at them, and the only thing said to them was that I loved them. I loved them as these luminous beings loved me. I wanted to tell them everything I had learned, but they looked at me suspiciously and started to walk away. For a few moments, I observed one of them. It was as if I was reading his mind, as if he was transparent. I saw how much he judged himself and hated himself. I also saw the absolute perfection in each of them, despite what they thought of themselves. They did not see the perfection. It was masked by what they thought and believed. I knew there was no point in trying to mention or tell them about my experience, that they weren't ready to hear it. From that moment and gradually, my consciousness began to shrink again, as if from the size of the sun, I became like a pea again, and I forgot what I was shown, except what I mentioned here. I often think about this experience, especially when life seems difficult. It helps me a lot. End quote. What a great story, and some fascinating descriptions and comparisons, and talking about being like the light beings, describing them and being like them, but we shrunk ourselves to be on earth. And the more that Anouk was with them, the taller she got, the bigger she got, and the more she started to be made of light. And then I thought, talking about the joyousness of coming back to earth and what she remembers as it being a privilege almost. What did she say? There was something glorious about being on earth. There are a couple questions here. Maybe. Question: did you come to a border, a point of no return? Answer: I clearly remember they gave me all the information I might need to decide. I decided on my own and joyfully to come back. Question: what was your religion prior to your experience? Answer: unaffiliated agnostic, born into an atheistic family. I was drawn to religious practice from a very young age. I was baptized when I was 8 years old. I was disappointed with the teachings given, so gradually turned away from it all. Have your religious practices changed since your experience? Answer: no. What is your religion now? Answer: unaffiliated agnostic. Question: did your experience include features consistent with your earthly beliefs? Answer: I had read NDE stories before. This experience was not similar because I didn't enter a tunnel, but I woke up in a dark and infinite space. It took years before I realized from reading other experiences like this that this was probably an NDE. Otherwise, it's like being reminded of what I already know. Question: during your experience, did you gain special knowledge or information about your purpose? Answer: uncertain, maybe, but it's too hazy. I forgot. I just remember that we all really want to be down here on earth, despite the pain and the obstacles. Question: how accurately do you remember the events? Answer: I remember the experience more accurately than other life events that occurred around the time of the experience. Question: do you have any psychic, non-ordinary, or other special gifts after your experience that you did not have before the experience? Answer: uncertain. I feel people's thoughts, but I can't remember whether I had that capacity before or whether it appeared afterwards. Question: what did you believe about the reality of your experience shortly after it happened? Answer: experience was probably real because it had nothing to do with what I knew about NDEs, but the experience was very real to me, much more than a dream. I was fully conscious. And that's the end of the questions. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.